Most men believe their problem is the world. They believe they need more power, more knowledge, more control. They believe mastery begins out there. The samurai believed something different. Before a sword was drawn, before an enemy appeared, before victory or defeat was even possible, they looked down, at their feet, at their posture, on the way they stood when no one was watching. Because a man who cannot stand correctly, cannot face pressure, cannot endure time, and cannot win even if the world kneels before him. Stay with this until the end, and you will understand why mastery has nothing to do with ambition and everything to do with stance. In classical Japanese martial schools, the first lesson was never attacked. It was kami, stance. Not a pose for battle, but a way of existing, feet grounded, spine aligned, breath quiet. Eyes soft but aware. Miyamoto Musashi wrote that a poor stance reveals a poor mind. A man who shifts his weight nervously will shift his resolve just as easily. The samurai understood something modern people ignore. Your body confesses your inner disorder long before your mouth does. A collapsed chest reveals resignation. Restless feet reveal impatience. A raised chin reveals ego. Stance was not about intimidation. It was about truth, and this truth applies far beyond the battlefield. There was a man, we will call him Kenji. Kenji lived a quiet, modern life. No war, no swords, no visible enemies, yet every day felt like resistance. He woke tired, moved quickly but achieved little, reacted constantly but decided nothing. He blamed circumstances, work, pressure, other people, but the real problem was subtler. Kenji could not remain still. When standing, he leaned. When sitting, he slouched. When listening, his eyes wandered. His body was always elsewhere. And without knowing it, Kenji had already lost every battle he would ever fight. Miyamoto Musashi fought over 60 duels and never lost. But Musashi did not train his sword first. He trained his center. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi warns against decorative movement. No wasted motion, no unnecessary tension. He writes, "Fix your gaze on what is distant, not what is near." This was not advice for eyesight, it was advice for posture. A man who leans forward is chasing outcomes. A man who leans back is avoiding responsibility. The correct stance is neither, it is presence. Musashi could stand for hours without shifting weight, not because he was rigid, but because he was aligned. Alignment removes effort, and effort is the first sign of weakness. Modern people try to fix their lives with force, schedules, rules, systems, goals. The samurai began elsewhere. They asked, "How do I stand when nothing is happening?" Because how you stand when nothing is demanded of you is how you will stand when everything is at stake. Kenji began to notice this. When waiting, he reached for distraction. When uncertain, he shifted posture. When confronted, his shoulders tightened. His body reacted before his mind. This is why discipline fails for most people. They try to control behavior without correcting the foundation. A crooked structure cannot bear weight. In old schools of Bushidō, students were often given one instruction for months: stand correctly. No technique, no philosophy lectures, no praise, just stance. Kenji chose one non-negotiable. Every morning before speaking to anyone, before checking anything, he stood. Feet shoulder width, knees soft, spine long, breathe slow. 5 minutes, nothing else mattered. No affirmation, no goal. No ambition, just alignment. And something uncomfortable happened. Silence. Silence reveals instability. Without noise, the body speaks. Kenji felt impatience rise, thoughts raced, weight shifted. He wanted to move, not because he needed to, but because he could not remain present. Zen monks call this the restless mind revealing itself through the body. Samurai trained silence not to appear calm, but to become immovable. Kenji realized something painful. He had never actually been present in his own body. The Japanese concept of gammon means enduring the unbearable without complaint. It is not suffering for pride. It is restraint. Standing still became Kenji's first lesson in gammon. No reaction. No performance. No audience, just endurance. 5 minutes became 10, 10 became 15, and gradually, without effort, his stance changed his thinking. His breath slowed naturally. His shoulders dropped. His gaze steadied. The body taught the mind what words never could. In Shuhari, the path of mastery, Shu is obedience, Ha is adaptation, Rai is transcendence. Most people skip Shu. They want insight without obedience. But Kenji obeyed something simple: stand correctly, even when it feels pointless. This is why the samurai distrusted clever men. Clever men avoid foundations. Warriors submit to them. Pressure eventually arrives. At work, Kenji faced confrontation. Old habits surfaced, but something had changed. He did not lean forward. He did not withdraw. He stood. Not physically, internally. The same alignment he practiced in silence now appeared under pressure. He spoke less, moved slower, listened more. Others noticed, not consciously but instinctively. Presence unsettles chaos. In martial arts, zanshin means remaining aware after the action. Most people collapse after effort. The samurai did not. Kenji practiced this too, after conversations, after conflict, after success. He returned to stance. No celebration, no collapse, just readiness. This is how mastery compounds, because they chase outcomes instead of alignment. They want confidence without posture, authority without stillness, control without presence. The samurai reversed the order: master stance, then breathe, then mind, then action, never the opposite. Kenji's life did not become dramatic. It became stable. And stability is terrifying to those who rely on chaos for identity. He spoke less but more clearly, acted less but more decisively, wanted less but lacked nothing. This is not an improvement, it is return. Musashi wrote that the way is in everything. But he also warned, if you know the way broadly, you will see it in all things. The way begins in the body. If you cannot stand correctly, you cannot walk the way. Before you seek power, stand. Before you chase meaning, stand. Before you attempt to master the world, master your stance. This is where the samurai began. This is where they ended. And this is where mastery still waits. Something subtle began to change in Kenji, not in his circumstances, not in his position, but in how the world responded to him. People interrupted him less. Arguments softened before escalating. Silence around him felt heavier, more deliberate. This was not confidence. Confidence seeks recognition. This was weight. In Japanese martial tradition, weight is not physical mass. It is grounded in intent. A man who carries weight does not rush. He does not explain. He does not correct others unless necessary. His presence already speaks. Kenji realized something unsettling. He had been trying to become someone for years, when all he needed was to stop collapsing. Zen masters warn of a quiet trap, the trap of improvement. Improvement feeds the ego, presence dissolves it. The samurai did not seek to improve themselves endlessly. They sought consistency. Kenji noticed that on days he skipped his stance practice, nothing dramatic happened, but something invisible weakened. His speech became reactive, his thoughts scattered. His body leaned forward again, chasing outcomes. This is how discipline dies, not through failure but through neglect of small foundations. Stance was never optional. It was maintenance of the self. In ancient sword schools, warriors practiced ikijio-zami, complete absorption in a single act. No division, no multitasking, no internal commentary. Kenji began applying stance beyond standing. When walking, he walked. When listening, he listened. When waiting, he waited. Not passively, fully. This unnerved people. Because most men are never fully where they are. And a man who is fully present exposes that absence. Chaos respects structure. Noise retreats from silence. In battle, the warrior who moves least survives longest. Kenji no longer rushed to fill space with words. He no longer defended himself unnecessarily. He learned an ancient rule: explanation is a sign of inner imbalance. A stable stance needs no justification. Eventually, Kenji faced direct opposition. A confrontation that once would have unsettled him. The room was tense. Voices rose and something remarkable happened. His body did not change. Breath steady, feet grounded, eyes calm. The mind followed. This was not courage. Courage requires fear. This was an absence of disturbance. The situation resolved itself, not because Kenji dominated it, but because instability had nothing to attach to. This is the secret few understand. Most conflicts survive on reaction. Remove reaction and they starve. Musashi never wrote, "Stand correctly and your life will change," because warriors did not need persuasion. They observed. They understood that a man who cannot command his own posture cannot command timing, cannot command emotion, cannot command fate. Musashi wrote about strategy, but he lived in alignment. That is why he could wait. That is why he could arrive late. That is why he could win without haste. One morning, standing as usual, Kenji understood something quietly profound. He no longer practiced stance. He inhabited it. There was no separation between posture and intention, between body and decision. This is where mastery begins, not when effort increases, but when effort disappears. Before you master your skill, before you master strategy, before you attempt to master others, master how you stand in silence. Because the world does not test your ideas. It tests your posture under pressure. This was the samurai's first lesson, and often their last. This channel exists for those who sense that modern answers are too loud, too fast, and too shallow. Here we return to ancient Japanese wisdom, Zen, Bushidō, Musashi, not to feel inspired but to become stable. If you remain here, you will not be taught how to win. You will be taught how to stand so that victory, if it comes, arrives quietly, and defeat, if it appears, finds nothing to break. Walk slowly, stand correctly, and return when you are ready.